Hi, my name is Teresa Rollins Fanning. This week for our class, we continued to read from Technology and Education, authored by Kevin Brady. Our video discussion this week centered on the topic, is the use of video surveillance cameras in school an invasion of student privacy? Public opinion polls taken since September 11th revealed that Americans in the public is extremely divided on the issue about surveillance. Having video cameras, looking at people, places, things, watching every move. In this chapter, our essay point was made by Kevin Brady from North Carolina State University, and our counterpoint on our essay was by Justin M. Bathan from the University of Kentucky. They wrestled with the question of whether video surveillance cameras in schools constitute an invasion of student privacy rights. When we talk about students' rights in school, there's a fine line that was drawn where our government decided that they would have video surveillance schools, in county schools, city schools. You can go to a courthouse, police department, police stations, and there's video surveillance there. You know, when we talked about the guidelines for complainants for the video, which is legal for the cameras being in the school, while this point essay argues that the general use of video surveillance in the schools does often violate student privacy, the following 6 guidelines for school officials will increase the likelihood that abuses student privileges will be minimized. School officials need to properly determine the cost, rationales, and limitations of a video camera surveillance system at their specific school. Number 2, video surveillance cameras must be clearly placed in a common area throughout the school environment. Number 3, if the video surveillance cameras are used, school officials should strongly consider not recording audio conversations. Number 4, school officials need to legally comply with the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Number 5, school officials need to provide adequate signage of the locations of the video cameras and surveillance systems and notify students that they are being videotaped. School officials need to develop a detailed view and video camera system policy when they place video cameras in their schools. Kevin Brady made our point this week on our discussion, and in his point he talked about and argued that schools represent special environments that warrant school officials to heighten attention to student safety and security concerns in lieu of student policy. However, Brady believes that video camera surveillance in schools exceeds the current legal boundaries of what constitutes a reasonable and acceptance of search techniques. Brady cautions school officials not to abuse surveillance technology and provided the 6 guidelines that we talked about a few moments ago. While Brady's point essay argues that the video camera surveillance extends the boundaries of reasonable search, Bathan, on his counterpoint, said that video surveillance results in many benefits to students, but not only just safety, but educational benefits as well. Brady continued in his point to say that the fact that video camera surveillance of adults in school settings is radically different compared to minor school-age children. They also talked about some court cases that were held up legally in the court system, talking about how they talked about student behavior. They talked about employees' behavior. They also were able to watch different teachers on the video cameras. Talked about the inappropriate behavior in a workplace. But Brady also argues that the current reasonable suspicion legal standard for students is enough for student officials to address most safety for student and student safety concerns. Just recently up in West Virginia, they had 3 different children in the same county. They all wrote in different textbooks. The cameras in the classroom were able to see that the children were writing in the textbooks, and they all wrote threats of danger for other children. So, some people say that it's a bad thing, but, all in all, safety is the most important thing to have. The counterpoint this week was also by Bathan. He argues that video surveillance cameras is the lesser of the multiple evils. He contends that the current media's reporting of school shootings, possession of drugs and weapons, and a multitude of other daily safety issues in schools justify the need for school officials to take greater control over school safety and security on school premises. Unlike Brady, who argued that there was a lack of empirical evidence to support the fact that today's schools are generally unsafe, Braden argues that when it comes to impeding and implementing video surveillance cameras in schools, local officials should have the legal flexibility and discretion they need to address any potential threats to student safety or security. Another point made by Britton was that in his counter, he talked about the notion that local school officials should have more control over technology aspects of the video camera surveillance. While both authors agree that local school officials' excessive control with the video surveillance programs can result in unreasonable student searches, we also needed to think about, when the data from the video is correctly and taken properly, it is protected. So only certain people are seeing it, principal, assistant principal, or, the secretary in the office. Additionally, in his closing part, Batten makes the point that the video camera surveillance programs frequently benefit students in terms of making the overall student learning environment safe. And, when you really think about it, their surveillance far outweighs the potential violations of the student, and to keep people safe. That's very important. Today our discussion centered on the video surveillance cameras, how they're used in schools for a variety of reasons, ranging from maintaining student safety and security, helping teachers be evaluated a lot of times, and school staff, while adults working in public places such as the workplace inquire and require intrusive searches. These cameras are also being able to look at the minor children in the schools, are unique and have special continuation and community of individuals. Evidence indicates that the use of video surveillance is growing in today's schools. More than, in 2002, there was like 1,000 schools that were opened, that were new, and 3/4 of them were equipped with some kind of video camera surveillance. While both authors argue that school safety officials should consider potential abuses to student privacy when the cameras are being on in surveillance, one of the things that you need to think about and keep in mind is that the daily use is there and that it is helping with safety. A central premise of the counterpoint that Bowden made was talked about the local leaders should have administrative discretion and be able to continue to look at the cameras and think about ways to improve or disprove some of them. The decision to implement video camera surveillance in today's schools by local officials. While school officials need to be wary of limited areas within the school and privacy, but the vast majority of locations in schools are public areas where video surveillance is permissible. Thank you. Have a great day.